Home Affairs Minister and Coordinating Minister for National Security K. Shanmugam says Singapore must strengthen its cyber defences. He announced that Singapore is currently under attack from a sophisticated group known as UNC3886. Experts CNA spoke to say they have observed links between the group and China.
The intent of this threat actor in attacking Singapore is quite clear. It is going after high-value strategic threat targets, vital infrastructure that deliver essential services. If it succeeds, it can conduct espionage and it can cause major disruption to Singapore and Singaporeans. UNC3886 poses a serious threat to us and has the potential to undermine our national security.
Mr. Shanmugam was speaking at the Cybersecurity Agency's 10th anniversary dinner. He adds that authorities will update the Cybersecurity Act to get more powers to deal with threats. This especially considering how dangerous state-linked groups can be. The Cybersecurity Agency says in a statement it has been investigating UNC3886 since it was detected in critical infrastructure. It is working with relevant agencies and partners to support affected organizations. While UNC3886 has yet to be definitively classified by cybersecurity professionals, it could be an advanced persistent threat. These are the cyber equivalent of a special operations unit, and they have hit Singapore before. Now, such groups hit the Foreign Affairs Ministry in 2014. The National University of Singapore and Nanyang Technological University also had the networks breached back in 2017. Now, in 2018, Sing Health systems were compromised with the personal information of 1.5 million patients stolen. Most recently, in 2024, some 2,700 residential devices, such as routers and cameras, were used by a global botnet. Now, those devices could have been used in cyber attacks elsewhere. If such threats have hit Singapore before, what are they? And how are they different from other cyber threats Singapore faces? Well, Nicholas Ng with a download.
Very broadly speaking, cyber threats can come from three groups. The first, hacktivists. For example, anonymous. They might deface websites or disrupt access to web services, even leak data, often for a political or social cause. The second are cybercriminals and ransomware groups. They're often in it for the money, like blackmailing you with your private information or locking your data up and holding it ransom. And the third, and what we're talking about today, advanced persistent threats, or APTs. These are often backed by governments with big resources and advanced tools to match, allowing them to stay hidden in computer systems for months at a time. They can find weaknesses inherent in code that haven't been patched yet, even tailor-make their own tools for infiltration. Their objective isn't profit or principles, it's power. APTs pursue their state's interests to steal secrets, sabotage infrastructure, and disrupt essential services. That's what makes them a national security threat.
A group that's mission-based and is well-funded, they can afford to wait, all right? If they can't get anything today, they can afford to wait till tomorrow, for months, years even, right? Whereas for some other groups who perhaps rely on, let's say, hacking or ransomware to survive, if they're not getting paid from what they're doing, then they will need to pivot to something else immediately.
Their prime targets are critical information infrastructure. That's defined as any computer systems needed for essential services. For example, energy, banking, transport, as well as security and emergency services. Because if these systems go down, life as we know it grinds to a halt. Like what's happening in the Ukraine war. Investigations conducted by NATO countries and Australia found that a Russian APT group has been targeting transport and delivery of foreign aid. That group hacked into key infrastructure like ports and airports in 12 European countries, allowing them to track where weapons were being moved and target strikes on those shipments.
Now, as for the specific group that attacked Singapore, here's what we know about UNC3886. UNC stands for uncategorized. They are a group with observed links to China, and this is according to cybersecurity firm Mandiant, which has tracked them for 3 years. UNC3886 targets strategic assets like critical infrastructure, defense contractors, and governments around the world. They break into these systems by finding loopholes in devices connected to the internet. Now, these vulnerabilities may be unknown and not fixed. Imagine like a secret door in your house that only a thief knows about, allowing them to slip in and out without anyone knowing. Once they are in, it's easy for the group to steal passwords and infiltrate even deeper, to the point that it is difficult to distinguish them from the activity of actual employees. And they can stay hidden for a long time unnoticed, sometimes even more than a year. Now, to catch them, Mandiant found changes in code that didn't match the original software. They also looked for signs of unique malware. But that doesn't mean the threat is gone. UNC3886 hides in multiple layers of a system. So even if you find and remove one, they could still be in, watching and waiting. Now, to protect our systems, Mandiant says it is important to patch network devices as soon as updates are released. They add that device activity needs to be recorded and monitored more extensively so action can be taken once threats are identified.
There is intelligence available on these threat actors, but this intelligence must be applied with the log sources in real time so that we are able to spot any malicious behavior. These logs must be available to hunt in, as in if, let's say, there is a new piece of intelligence that we now have on their behavior. We should be able to go back and look at these past logs and look for the traces of these evidence in those logs.
And for more, we are now joined by Muhammad Faisal, Research Fellow at the Regional Security Architecture Program at the S. Rajaratnam School of International Studies. Mr. Faisal, welcome to the program. So first of all, Singapore has explicitly named a cyber threat group. What do you think is the rationale behind this move? What has changed in Singapore's response strategies, you think?
Well, as you can see, in the last few years, Singapore's landscape has changed. We are becoming more digitalized. So because of that, any threat actors, if they do conduct malicious cyber activities, the impact will be much greater today than it was 5-6 years ago. So this requires us to implement more or stronger countermeasures against them. Furthermore, I think our country has been emphasizing the importance of digital defense. And if we recall, during the Total Defense Day in February, there was an element of cybersecurity in the simulation exercise. So I think beyond educating the public about it, it is also crucial to let them know that the threat is real and it's not simulated.
And so, as you said, the landscape in Singapore has changed. We are also seeing a rise in cyber warfare as geopolitical tensions in the world increase, right? So help us understand, how serious is the cyber threat to Singapore today?
I think what we should be concerned is that we do not have tensions with other countries, but we may be caught in the crosshairs. So we all know that when it comes to global tensions, we have China on the one side and we have the US and their allies on the other side. However, we, Singapore, as a country, we are digitalized. We are interconnected with all of them. If both sides conduct malicious cyber activities against each other, it can actually affect us because we are caught in between. And furthermore, we can see in the international space now that all the major powers are trying to convince various countries to align with them, to choose a side. And I would say that the use of cyber tactics is probably one of the ways to change our behavior, to persuade us to align with certain sides.
So what does it mean then when countries trade cyber attacks but still shake hands in public?
I think that is the nature of diplomacy, which is basically requires the balance of coercion and cooperation. In order to change the behavior of the other side, the other country, you need to have tactics that use both principles. And furthermore, even when you face a certain threat or coercion from one particular state, you cannot allow that incident to basically define the wider bilateral relations between both countries.
So emerging technologies are growing more advanced, more accessible, more sophisticated. How will they further complicate the dynamics of cyber conflict and deterrence, you think?
Well, as the world embraces more technologies, it means that our attack surface or our exposure to cyber threats will grow. It is inevitable. That's one thing. Secondly, the fact that the technologies are becoming more advanced, it means that the threat actors are always on the lookout for new tactics that they can use and new opportunities to strike. But on the defender side, we also have to be on the lookout or search for new ways to defend ourselves. I would say that it's actually a marathon that never ends. But what matters more is that we don't fall out from the race.
In this marathon that never ends, how do you think Singapore then should navigate these challenges and the evolving risks in the global cyber landscape?
I think what Singapore needs to maintain or even do more is actually, I would say, 3 areas: deterrence, diplomacy, and diversification. Deterrence is basically to let our people know that we have the ability to detect and block threats, and to let the threat actors know that we can detect them. Diplomacy is basically to work with like-minded countries with similar interests, to basically work together to ensure that everybody out there behave in a responsible manner in the cyberspace, share information on threats, among others. Diversification, I would say that we need to be able to use more than one digital system so that we are not held hostage if one system is being targeted. And of course, that also includes being able to operate in a landscape where our digital systems are totally disrupted.
How ready do you think Singapore is as the landscape becomes more complicated, you think?
I don't think Singapore or any country can say that they are 100% ready. But I believe that by public education such as digital defense, by having good cybersecurity measures, it keeps us on a more resilient, more ready to face the threats. I would say that the threats are there. We face threats every day. But it is the ability to mitigate these threats that matter more.
All right, Mr. Faisal, thank you so much for coming in to speak with us tonight. That was Muhammad Faisal, Research Fellow at the S. Rajaratnam School of International Studies.